Okay, so today we have Felipe Cuartas with us, and I'm so excited to get to connect with him. And so I'd just like to start with Felipe, with you sharing just a little bit about your time at MHS, what you're involved in, when you graduated, that kind of thing.
Sure. Thank you. First of all, thanks for hosting me. I'm excited to be here and getting in front of all of you. So I went to Marion High School from 2006 to 2010. And, Marion was a great place. I've lived here since I was in first grade. I'm actually staying here now during this whole COVID situation. And so it's great to be back. But I love the high school. I love growing up in Marion. Made a lot of good friends through sports growing up, but then also through some of the clubs I was part of. And one of the ones I was really involved with was FBLA, or Future
Yes.
Business Leaders of America. And so thanks to Mrs. Hudgens, I decided to take some leadership roles in that club, and that became a big part of why I decided to go into the business world in general and started learning through business concepts and how exciting business can be and competitive through some of those classes that I took at MHS and through that club. And so other things I did was I was on the soccer team, played tennis as well. And yeah, I loved a lot of the science classes too. I had classes with the Davises, who I don't think are at MHS anymore,
Yeah.
but there's a lot of great teachers there. And yeah, just I guess that's kind of some of the biggest stuff I was involved with, but was some sports and then a lot of the business stuff.
Well, yeah, you were definitely a leader at the high school, and honestly, very good at whatever you attempted. You did well. You did to completion and with perfection, and we're just an overall excellent, well-rounded student. So it's so good to get to catch up with you.
You too. Thanks.
So beyond then, Marion High School, after you graduated, would you mind to kind of share your career path, where you went from there and kind of how you've ended up where you are today?
Sure. Yeah. So after Marion High School, I applied to a number of schools, but ended up going to school in St. Louis to WashU. And I started there not really knowing what I wanted to study. And as I mentioned, I liked some of the science classes in high school. So I started taking a lot of STEM classes, which stands for science, technology, engineering, and math, I think. So not so much in the business world, but after doing my freshman year in college, I did take an entry-level business school class. And what I realized is I started liking my business classes a lot more in college and the doors that would open up. And I started learning honestly about the opportunities that I could have as a career path. And when I started hearing more and more about that, I became more interested in that world and a little less so in staying on a medical career or something that had to do with biology or sciences. And my sophomore year, I decided to switch my major. And so I decided to major in finance and obviously got a lot more focused on business classes, learned about finance. But then I also kept taking classes in arts and sciences and ended up majoring in philosophy too. And so a lot of people think that those are pretty unrelated, and they're probably right. But what's cool about philosophy or just going to college is you get a chance to focus in on one thing that might be your career, but you get a chance to also take classes in a lot of other areas and learn about things you might not ever had a chance to talk to someone about. So that was purely based on just interest, and I loved pairing it with finance, and it helped me think differently than the average business person. And so after finishing college, and at college I stayed playing soccer, kept playing sports. There's a lot of things you can keep being involved with that you probably enjoyed in high school, and there's also a lot of other things that you can probably try in most places. So but after finishing there, what I decided to do was I went into the insurance world. And the reason I got into that was I had an opportunity through an internship. And that's something I'd encourage all of you once you get into college, hopefully, if that's your plan is, start early. I would say start looking in September even. Like right after school starts, you get your classes going a little bit, maybe after those first tests. Start looking because a lot of great companies recruit in the fall, and they do that early for the following summer. So if you think you should wait until after Christmas to start looking, it's probably going to be too late for a lot of places. So if you do that and you stay on top of it, then you'll hopefully get a chance to intern at a company, which is what I would recommend to get into any career. It's probably the best way to get your foot in the door. And, you're all about to experience a downturn in the economy, which can shift a lot of things. And so it's going to be extra important for you to be on top of those things and networking early,
True.
because, businesses are cyclical and hiring might shift. And so the earlier you can get on top of that stuff, the better. And so uh, after doing my internship, I've been working now at the same company for 5 or 6 years, and had the opportunity to change roles within the company, grow, and do different things. And so what you'll start to realize is most businesses, if you work hard and you're excited about coming into work, you're doing a good job, they'll give you opportunities to have different career paths and learn different things within their own companies. And so the company I work for is called Gallagher. It's a Fortune 500 insurance broker. And what that means is an insurance broker sits between businesses that need to buy insurance. Like one of our clients is McDonald's. And so when they need insurance, they go to someone like us, and we go out to the market, is what we call it, and deal with hundreds of insurance companies and help them find the best deal to insure themselves at the best price. And so I am an intermediary between insurance companies and then companies that buy insurance. And so we help consult with them, and we help them understand what risks they have. We help them quantify those risks, and then we help them protect their business against those risks. So I would say, important things to remember though is don't feel like you can wait to start getting the internship opportunities. Try to start that as early as possible, and use your school's resources to do that. So that's a little bit about how I got to where I am in the last 5 years.
That's really, really interesting. I can see where the philosophy would be an asset, in
Sure.
negotiations and just kind of thinking how people approach situations. I think that's very interesting.
Yeah, no, thank you. And yeah, it's kind of philosophy. A lot of people don't really know exactly what it means when you talk about it, but it really just teaches you how to think and draw a problem to the basis of what you're actually talking about in a very abstract way. And so it a lot of times helps you maybe get out of the box of traditional financial models or what you're learning in classes in the finance world. So yeah, thank you.
Very exciting. So what's a typical day like? You said you work as a mediator kind of between businesses and then the insurance companies that are providing the various products. But what would a typical day look like for you? What are the skill sets that you most often use?
Sure. Yeah. So for me, our company is very sales driven. We have an aggressive culture, but it's also family run business. So they have a nice family feel too. And so, how I'm measured or what I do every day is I have a book of clients that some of them were existing clients within Gallagher. And so I help them renew their insurance policies every year. When they have questions like an employee might get hurt, or, building has an accident or might burn down, something like that. They would call me and I'd help them deal with the insurance claim, talk to the insurance companies, help that get paid. But then outside of servicing that book of clients or working with them day to day, I also have responsibilities to sell insurance and grow that book of clients. And so what that would mean is we have resources like data sets that I can build lists from. And then we do things like cold call, email, I go network, I guess not right now, but once things settle down again, and go to conferences. And so I get to travel to, for example, Illinois Manufacturers Association conferences and learn about different manufacturers in the state of Illinois, try to meet CFOs, business owners, and talk to them about how Gallagher does insurance and try to win those clients by building relationships. So huge part of the business world is still relationship building. And a lot of people who might think, I love socializing, I love, having my friends around here, going to parties, or maybe like even on teams or in their clubs, that part of the club they're in or the group they're part of. If you love that stuff, then business is potentially a great opportunity for you because, relationships are still really important. But at the same time, everything's becoming more data driven. So you might be someone who's really nice and fun, but you also need to know why something's happening in the world, be able to support what you're saying with information. And if you're good at those things, then you can have a very successful career in business. So my day-to-day is everything from working on clients' problems today to reaching out to new ones and then trying to get more effective and learn more about the business problems they're having so I can be better at my job.
So networking, communication, analytical skills are all those critical things that I tell students, but it's good for them to hear from someone else.
Yeah, yeah. And the cool thing is in the business world, you don't have to be a salesperson. You don't have to go network or cold call. And you don't have to be someone who stays in the office all day. There's a complete range of opportunities out there and different job functions. There's everything from human resources to marketing. So if you like creating cool graphics and building a brand, there's opportunities like that, all the way to client service, which is doing probably whatever core service your business provides, whether that's investment advising, helping with insurance, anything like that, to doing that. And so I would say most companies, even the small ones, are going to need to do all those same key functions. And so there's probably a wide range of opportunities that you could tell them about. And so what I do isn't necessarily the only thing that's out there in the business world either.
Sure. So, as far as what's going on right now, this isn't one of the questions that we kind of talked about ahead of time, but I'm going to ask, with COVID-19, how has that affected, have you had to spend time with your clients, kind of communicating with them over concerns they might have as far as liability issues or things like that, operating with these threats, these risks that are out there now?
Sure. Yeah, no, good question. And absolutely. Yeah. So, our business only succeeds if our clients succeed and can continue paying for the insurance that they have to buy to run that business. And so it's in our best interest, and what we're trying to do every day is help advise them on ways they can mitigate the risks involved with their business, and then also try to keep their business going, freeing up cash flow. And so right now there's a liquidity crunch, which means when you think liquidity, just think of money flowing through the economy. And so a lot of businesses right now are having issues where they can't fund payroll, for example, so they have to pay their employees, or they're having to fire or furlough them. They have to pay loans that they're outstanding. They have to continue paying fixed costs, like for their buildings, to power them. And so it's hard to do that when you're not making money anymore. Customers aren't coming and buying your food, your service, etc. And so right now I've been spending a lot of time helping people understand what insurance they might have, what protections they might have in place. For example, like business interruption insurance. And the reality is the insurance world, is just one industry. And so they're trying to help deal with a lot of these issues from that standpoint with the money side and advising clients. But at the same time, it's partnering with entities like governments and making sure that the federal loan programs that are coming out to help pay for a lot of these things, we're helping our clients be aware of them and use them correctly and keep their businesses going. And so what I spend a lot of time doing is answering questions about, if our customers are canceling contracts, what options do we have? How can we free up more cash flow? And so we have strategies in the insurance world where we can open lines of credit by shifting things. And it gets a little more complicated, but in the end, it's just in any business, you should always be thinking, whether you end up going in the business world or not, how you can try to be someone who solves problems and helps find solutions for people. And so just because my job isn't making loans or I don't work for the government, I can still do research, try to connect people to the right resources. And so that's what a lot of what I've been doing is using my insurance knowledge, but then kind of reframing it to help where there's the most need right now.
That's really good to hear. And I did read online, I read a little bit about your company, that it's ranked like one of the most ethical companies to work for, right?
Thank you. Yeah. And, that's a great point you bring up, Mrs. Hudgens, because the opportunities I first looked for in the business world and how I was picking was maybe based on where I get paid a lot, what companies are talked about in the news a lot or have cool brands. And so what I learned with being at a company that's very ethical is how important culture is and ethics are. Because when you go home or when you're dealing with different clubs or teachers at school, having a positive environment where you can do the right thing, and if you're doing the right thing, people are going to back you up, is a really important thing to have wherever you are. and a company culture that supports ethics and does things the right way really allows you to always do the right thing, work really hard, and that will advance you within that company. Companies that are out there sometimes that don't prioritize those things or don't have a culture that's like that might incentivize or let you get away with behavior that's not so much like that. And that's a very dangerous path to start going down, and how you can ultimately end up in a really difficult or bad situation. And so I'd encourage, when you're interviewing with companies, not only asking about how much will I get paid, what type of opportunities will I have to be working with clients, but also ask, what's the culture like? What do people treat you like when you go to work every day? What are things that are important to people at work? How do you get incentivized in your job? So it's learning really what it would be like to be there day to day, just like you would be in school.
That's very good advice. And I do think, in light of what's going on in the world right now, when you see an economic crisis, when you see a lot of the things that are happening right now,
Mm-hmm.
kind of the true colors also show through on, companies. It will separate leaders from followers. The people that take shortcuts. These are the times that it's more noticeable, those
Yeah,
flaws.
absolutely.
So
There's a Netflix documentary called Dirty Money that's pretty interesting that I would recommend watching, maybe in some classes or outside of class. But
I'm
it
writing
shows it. What's up?
I said I'm writing it down so I don't
Yeah,
forget.
it's on Netflix. It's a series. I think the second season just came out, actually, but it's like about 10 episodes a season about companies or individuals who aren't so ethical and how they kind of crashed and burned. And so those are some pretty good real world examples of what I'm talking about.
That's great. Well, such wisdom from such a young guy.
Thank you.
But in closing here, I just want to ask you if there's anything else. I mean, you've talked about internships, you've talked about ethics and character. Is there anything else that you would like to kind of just impart or share with students? Thinking back when you were 16, 17,
Sure.
what do you wish you knew? Should someone have told you?
Sure. Yeah, I think so.
Oh,
High school happened fast. And if you're in high school right now, I'm sure you've heard of. Is it working again or not?
you're frozen. I can hear you now. This is the
I'm
first time. No,
frozen.
you're good now. Here you go. I don't know what's.
Okay, I'm good.
This is the first time.
Okay, no. So at least it was in the beginning of the question. No, that was good. I think it's my internet, actually. I'm downstairs. But what I would tell anyone in high school is it happens really fast, a lot faster than you think. And something that you should take time to do is, there's a lot of fun things going on, but right now, especially during this time when people are supposed to not be as close to others, is a good time to pull back and reflect a little. And what I mean by that is I try to do something that's helped me a lot in making tough decisions throughout my 5 years or 6 years working, but even when I was choosing where to go for college or what to do in high school. And that's in a notebook or wherever you want, just put down, when I retire from a job or at the end of life, when I'm done working, I want to have achieved X, or I wish that I would have been this. And if you can kind of put that on paper and start picturing that, how cool that could be someday, then you can pull it back and start drawing a timeline to your present and try to start painting a picture of the steps you need to take to get there. And then the dream or where you want to end up starts seeming more manageable than ever before, because you start kind of drawing a path to your present state and determining how to get there. But I think it's also really important to do that constantly throughout life, because the funny part about that plan is it's never going to actually happen like you think. And so you don't want to get stuck to the original plan either. And so that's something that I try to do, and I'd recommend to start doing in high school, and that'll really help you pick what school to go to. And then you can start Googling schools that are really good at what you want to end up doing, or that where you can meet people who do that, or a lot of alum who have done that, graduated from there. And so that's one piece of advice. I think it's never too early to start and always be doing. And then something else is, I would say this to everyone, and I've actually dealt with a lot of women in the business world too, and gone to women in leadership events. But I've seen, and the reason I bring up women is because I've seen women especially struggle with this sometimes who I mentor. But it's asking for what you want and not being scared to ask for it. And so whether that's in an interview or once you're in a job, when you're in a class, anything, it's know what you want, know who you are, kind of, and that process of writing down what you want to do helps with that. But once you start knowing yourself, you'll grow in that confidence, but have certain principles or boundaries where never let anyone cross those, know what those are, and always make sure that where you are, people are going to respect those. And that can translate all the way to things for asking for more money when you get a job, which I recommend doing usually every time, and asking tough questions. But I would say there's no need to be scared for that. And as long as you're always asking for what you want and making yourself respected anywhere you go, then either one of two things will happen. People will do it, or you'll realize you're in the wrong place and you'll get out of it faster. So those are probably the last pieces of advice I'd give to all of you.
Very, very good advice. I'm so appreciative that you carved out some time for me today and for my students. And I know that they're
Sure.
going to take a lot away from this conversation. I just can't thank you enough for sharing with us today.
Thank you. And I always say that you started me into business, so I always want to be really thankful to you for that, and let everyone know that too. But you do an amazing job, and anyone who's in your class is very lucky. So hopefully you keep doing this, because I think it's a great idea, and I look forward to talking to you again soon.
I really appreciate it.